Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Living with the Times. Tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh Av, which means that we're getting closer to Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, the fast day. In the tractate of Ta'anit, it says that 5 things happened on Tisha B'Av. That was the day that the spies came back from the desert and gave a evil report, and the people gave up hope and said, let's choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. And that's when God decreed that that generation was not ready to come into the land, and they ended up wandering in the desert for 40 years until a new generation could come into the land. That was the first thing that happened. Both temples, the first and second temple, were destroyed on Tisha B'Av. The Bar Chochmah rebellion ended with the defeat of the city of Beitar. And then what was left of Jerusalem was plowed under, all on Tisha B'Av. The end of the Mishnah says, when Av comes in, we lessen our joy. Me'atim b'simcha. So it makes sense because we have all of these laws of semi-mourning during the 9 days, culminating in a fast day. The Jose of Lublin, the Lubliner Rebbe, a famous Hasidic Rebbe in the early 1800s. So he interpreted these words, Me'atim b'simcha, almost more literally than the way we translate it. B'simcha can mean with joy. So he translated it, when the month of Av comes in, we lessen with joy. Not we lessen joy, we lessen with joy. So the question is, what was he getting at? What did he mean? So one way we can understand this is a discussion in the Talmud, where one of the sages makes a claim that every day God cries over the destruction of the temple. And one of the other sages, a bit incredulous, says, how can you say such a thing? We have a verse that says the opposite. Oz v'chedva bimkomo. Strength and joy are in his place. His meaning God. Joy and strength are in his place. So how can you tell me in his place he's crying? And so the sage who proposed this said, on the outside, he's joyous. On the inside, he's crying. So this, obviously we're talking in symbolic terms here, but it's a very, very deep concept of how we're supposed to react during the 3 weeks, and especially once the 9 days come and as we get closer and closer to Tisha B'Av. So it's very important to state that the 3 weeks is not a time for sadness or depression or giving up or feeling hopeless. It's actually quite the opposite. That because of everything that's happened to us in history, we should be more determined than ever to fulfill our mission in the world as individuals, but especially as Am Yisrael, as a nation. And our mission is the same from the time of Abraham, is to reveal the oneness of God in the world, the reality that there is one God, and as Isaiah said it later, to be a light unto the nations. And so Yes, we've been challenged tremendously, and yet we've never given up. It's a known thing that many times it should never happen again, but there's a terrorist attack somewhere in Israel, and the next day, the businesses near where the bombing was or whatever it was open up for business again. Not that it didn't touch them, but it's as a sign of determination. And you might have read this, but every year there's this survey of nations all around the world. It's called the Happiness Survey, to try to determine which society is the happiest, are the happiest with the lives that they're living in their country. And so every year for many years now, Israel is in the top 10. I believe this year Israel is either 8th or 9th. So you could say, okay, they're not first or second, but none of the countries that ranked above Israel have been fighting war after war after war, have been living through constant terrorism. So this is a good metaphor. There's no place on earth that so challenges Israel. Our very existence, our fight for survival. There's no other country that has been going through this for so long. There are wars all over the globe all the time. But here, it's constant. It's constant. And yet, when people are surveyed, are you happy with your life? Do you have a good life? We rank one of the highest in the world. And so that is what the Lubliner was trying to teach us, is we do lessen, we do feel the pain, but we hold on to a semblance of joy and a sense of purpose and mission, and that makes all the difference in the world. So we should learn to lessen, but with joy and determination to reach our goals. And the goal is to bring peace and harmony, light and love to the world.